You know what I failed to mention in my awesome review for Batman The Long Halloween Part 1 that you can totally go check out? It's over 100 views, so why not help me get it to 200? I failed to hammer in just how much of a great Batman Jensen Ackles is since Kevin Conroy. I'm gonna repeat that so you didn't think I stuttered. I think Jensen Ackles is the best Batman we've had since Kevin Conroy. You may all leave your question marks down below and wondering just how in the hell is that remotely possible. Well, maybe if you give me less than 15 minutes, I'll explain it to you. Let me ask you something. Why do you love Kevin Conroy's Batman? What has made you stay attached to him for over 27 years? Is it the iconic catchphrase, the whole
I am vengeance. I am the night. I am Batman.
Is it his awesome buttery smoothie voice? Is it just hearing him as Batman? Well, I'll tell you what mine is while I wait to hear and read your thoughts down below in the comments. It's his humanity. It's not about the bat. It's more about the man aspect that drew me into Conroy when I was 3 years old. And let me paint this picture in your head. Little me had only two favorite Batmans, Conroy and Val Kilmer. Shut up, I had godly expectations that could not be filled until the early 2000s. No, I loved how compassionate Bruce Wayne was to not just everybody in his city, but also to the criminals, to the people that he was trying to rehabilitate, make them feel like they could fit in with normal society, make them not feel like they were ostracized, like they were left out by people, just like how he was when he lost his parents. I grew up loving the more emotional and raw moments DCAU Batman had. He wasn't perfect. He had his limits. He was just a man trying to keep up in a world that was evolving around him. He was trying to do the right thing even when people told him it wasn't. This is a guy who apologized to Mr. Freeze after learning what happened to him, what he was trying to do for his wife, who would get justice on his behalf on the same man who took all that away from Victor, who was there for a little girl who couldn't grow up because of a condition, who gave her a shoulder to cry on. But most importantly, a guy who could have just as easily thrown his best friend aside when he became Two-Face, when he committed all of these horrible crimes, but he didn't. He stuck with him, even paid for his reconstructive surgery. This all astounded his own sidekick, who just assumed that he was doing this because he felt guilty. But no, Bruce Wayne did it because that's what Bruce Wayne does. He never stops believing in the good he sees in people. Even when they're homicidal maniacs whose goal is to destroy the city because they felt ostracized by that city. For the longest time, I have longed for a Bruce Wayne voice actor who can perfectly convey that in their voice. But I've just never had it. We've had great actors who have portrayed Batman, yeah, but it's always been about beating the shit out of criminals, about saving the day, or in this case, just making Batman kind of OP. He's not even a human anymore at this point. The guy is literally a superhuman who can do anything because the fucking writer says he can. He can be a good detective because he just can. He can be a good hacker because he can. A godly martial artist because he can. A master prep timer who can literally take down gods because he can. However, In Batman The Long Halloween Part 1, I got to witness Jensen Ackles give off a stellar performance that brings out more of the humanity of Bruce Wayne, showing that, yes, while he is still in his earlier years, he's not perfect. He makes mistakes. He's not the best at everything. His whole goal is about scaring criminals, maybe even getting them to clean up their acts. But the one thing he never expected he would have to do as Batman was be a detective. Yeah. You ever go back and just question, how in the holy hell is Christian Bale a detective? I can buy Robert Downey Jr. being a detective, but I cannot buy Christian Bale for 1 second being a fucking detective. I can't, and you still can't convince me otherwise. However, it's the learning curve that we get to see this Batman go through. Throughout the whole movie, in case you haven't read The Long Halloween, I'll just give you the rundown here. Batman is trying to catch a criminal who is targeting members of the Carmine Falcone family on holidays, leading to Gotham news media calling him Holiday. Gotham's finest, everybody. Let's give him a round of applause. Gotham's finest. Yes, you can sit down now. But in all seriousness, we're seeing Bruce Wayne being challenged for the first time since he first put on the costume. He's actually not keeping up with everything. He hasn't put all of the clues together. He's having to actually get taught by one of his other father figures in this movie, Jim Gordon, who straight up tells him he's aces in a fight, but he has a lot to learn about being a detective. He has to know how people will help make his case. And instead, he chooses to go about the route his friend Harvey Dent has taught him. He's not thinking like a detective, he's thinking like a district attorney, which is fascinating to me. There's a point in the movie where you actually finally see Bruce Wayne break down, telling Alfred he never expected that Batman would have to be not just a detective, but a good one. He even questions, can he save the people that Holiday is targeting before they end up meeting their end? This is something you do not see in Batman media these days, because to DC, it's completely unrealistic. Batman would never break down. He would never question his credentials. He would never, ever even remotely consider, is he a good detective? That is something that Tim Sheridan and everybody else behind the original graphic novel of The Long Halloween put in front of us. A human Batman who has to try and keep up with a city that is ever evolving from the traditional organized crime from the mafia to disorganized crime, from homicidal maniacs like the Joker, Poison Ivy, Two-Face, and so many others. This is Batman as we're beginning to see him later on, and I'll tell you right now, it's no secret that I did not like the New 52 animated universe. I hated it. I straight up hated it. There were some good films in there, sure, but what I mostly hated about it, what I more than despised above all else, was their Batman. All he was just a guy who growled, and that's it. He could do anything. He could beat Superman in a fight, because he can. Now look, I'll give him this. Having Batman barely be able to keep up with Superman and the others, that was a good idea. Having a Bruce Wayne who actually empathizes with Hal Jordan, I like that. But instead, for the rest of his appearances, he's just a smart block of wood. Not helped at all by his voice actor Jason Omar, who, I'm sorry, he is by far the worst Batman we've ever had. He does not give any personality into Bruce Wayne or Batman. In fact, when he is Bruce Wayne, quote-unquote, he's just using his Batman voice.
My father had a saying, tomorrow is one dream away. Sentimental words, I know, but they stayed with me, even after my parents were killed. Are you talking about magic? The criminally insane don't need magic as an excuse. I recommend spending more time on the streets instead of flying over them.
That's it. How are you supposed to be able to tell the difference? You can't. Because he just has that one voice and doesn't know how to lighten up his Bruce Wayne voice, even when he's Bruce Wayne. Point is, I never liked him. I was so glad that he was finally gone and we would never see him again. But I was worried about the next Batman that would come, that they would unfortunately take similar notes to that, follow in that actor's footsteps. But once I heard that Jensen Ackles was going to play Batman in this new universe, my expectations were through the roof. Because as you all know, Jensen Ackles is no stranger to Batman media. He played Jason Todd in the critically acclaimed Batman Under the Red Hood. He was Dean Winchester in the first 5 amazing seasons of Supernatural. So this guy knows how to give a humanizing performance when it comes to a character. Hell, I was actually over the moon when I heard so little of his Batman in the trailer. But then once I watched the full movie, it was like magic. He had everything I wanted. Even the little moments, like him actually going back to Solomon Grundy to leave him a Thanksgiving dinner, that straight up made this Batman fan cry. Not because he did it, but because it's been so long since we've seen a human under that cowl, and not just this OP badass who can do whatever he wants because he's given the power by the writers to. And this is what I really need future Batman actors to look at and study from. You don't have to just have a good Batman voice. You don't even have to just have a good Bruce Wayne. What you really need is to really, really invest yourself into what makes this guy tick. Try and find that humanity that the script is calling for. Don't just underplay it or just sweep it off like nothing only to go back to being badass. No. That is precisely what made us love Kevin Conroy. Hell, that is why people even today are upset that he wasn't in this, despite it not being his story. He doesn't have to be in everything. But I get it. We want him in everything because he had 14 years to develop his Batman and show us the man side of it. Not just the bat, but the man behind the bat. And it's my hope that Jensen Ackles will be able to do this too. Because if not, then, well, I'm already not looking forward to the rest of this universe. Really, please, have his interaction with the Justice League be good. Don't make him a fucking god. But until then, I just thought I would let you guys know. Oh, hey, did I also forget to mention I have a new editor? His name is Sam. Say hello, Sam. Sam is going to be doing a lot more work with me, and I am very happy to have him on board. So I hope you guys can extend your applause down below and welcoming him to the channel, because Sam, my man, we're going to be doing a lot of Scooby-Doo movies. I'm kidding, I'm kidding. I'm only half kidding.
Oh! Ew! Dude!